So hey guys, today we're going to be doing unit SITH-PAT 009, model sugar-based decorations. So for this unit, we're going to be learning how to pull sugar. We do a blown sugar, so I'm going to give you a pump and I'm going to show you how to blow it into a nice little bowl. And then we're going to do casting sugar, which is usually done as a base for a decoration that you might do. Right? So those are the three things that we're going to be doing today. So to start off, we're going to start with pull sugar. For that, in your recipe, it says 1 kilo of sugar, 400 grams of water. I have sort of taken a quarter of it, so I'm going to play in smaller quantities because it's easier to handle. So I need a stainless steel pot. You can't use aluminum pot because it will react with the sugar. So stainless steel pot is a must. Okay, to that, I'm going to add a quarter of the recipe, so it's 250 grams of sugar. All right. In your recipe, it says 2.5 grams of tartar, cream of tartar. I'm just going to add a pinch because obviously I can't divide that by 4, and the measurements won't, and the scales won't measure it for me. And then to this, I'm going to add 100 grams of water. Now, when you pour the water, you just want to pour it in the middle, so you don't want the sugars to splatter to the side. All right. I would leave it as it is. I wouldn't touch it. Do not stir it, especially once it hits the stove. If you stir your sugar when it hits the stove, it will crystallize, and then you'll have to start all over again. All right? You also need a candy thermometer or a sugar thermometer. We're going to use the Celsius. We don't use Fahrenheit. We don't live in the US. With blown sugar, with pulled sugar, with casting sugar, the magic number you need to know is 160 degrees on the sugar thermometer. Right? So it's on the right-hand side, and it's right there. Okay, so I'll show you. Now, colors. With pulled sugar, you want solid colors. So you can do whatever colors you want. Ideally, you want gel colors. Liquid colors tend to add a bit more water to the existing water that you've already added to the sugar, and that you don't want. So we've got gel colors. I'm going to do red today because I'm going to show you how to pull a rose. So now, the color varies. You can do it. I'd like to do a little bit of color because it does get intense once the colors get mixed. I'll pop it straight onto the stove. I'll stick my sugar thermometer on. You've just got to be careful. Everything is really hot, especially sugar. And then I'm going to increase the temperature to a medium to high, not too high. Now, this would take about 10 to 15 minutes. You've got 5 minutes that you can do everything else, but you don't want to walk too far away from it because once it creeps up 100 degrees, it will rise really, really quickly, and then you run the risk of your pot catching fire. All right? So we'll wait for this to come to temperature, and then we'll come back and I'll show you what needs to be done. While this is on the stove, though, you need to have a silpat mat. Ideally, you want it on a flat surface. Now, in the kitchen, the benches, because we put hot stuff and cold stuff, they tend to sort of have a little warp. And what you find is when I pour the sugar, which you will notice, it will start to run, right? So if that happens, just gently slide your silpat mat, all right? So we'll be back. All I need is my silpat mat. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about what you need. Because the sugar is at 160 degrees, you would need what you call a cotton glove. Now, you can get this at the supermarkets. They're about $1.50, all right? They're cotton, they're white. These protect your hand from the heat because you're going to be pulling the sugar. And so you really want this to sort of protect your hand. Some of us are a bit more sensitive to heat. We can burn our hands and our fingers, so we want to be really careful. I'm also going to wear silicone glove over it, only because once the cotton glove touches onto the sugar, it's going to get stuck. So the silicone glove helps to sort of prevent that from happening. So I've got 3 sets of gloves here because it is really hot and you will see it when I'm pulling the sugar. I'm also keeping an eye on my thermometer. Now, the reason why you need this is because right now your palms are going to be exposed to the heat when you're pulling the sugar. But once I've done the pulled sugar, I'm going to put it under the heat lamp. The heat lamp is really, really, really hot. And your hands are going to be under the heat lamp. The heat's going to get to the top of your palm. Don't want to burn your hands. I'm going to wear another set of gloves. I've got 3. There's a less likely chance that you're going to burn yourself. So as you can tell, once the sugar hits past the 110 mark, the bubbles start to slow down a little bit. So see how they're tiny bubbles? My thermometer is sitting at 150. So it's just about, and it will creep up really quickly. So at this stage, you don't want to walk away. You want to be really, really close. Now, this doesn't have a handle, so I'm going to use a tea towel. It is really hot, so every chance you get, you need to protect your fingers from burning. So, and again, if you're working as a team, you don't want to burn anyone with the sugar that you're pulling. So you've just got to be really, really, really careful. All right, so it's starting to hit 160. Now I'm taking it off the stove. I'm going to pop that into the sink, and then now I'm going to pour it onto the silpat. Now, so see how it's rolling? So all you need to do is just slide your silpat and pour the rest of the sugar. Now, with this pot, it's hard to scrub because it's sugar. It will crystallize. You've just got to be really careful because when I turn the water on, it is going to bubble up, so just be careful. Now I'm going to fill it up with water and pop it back on the stove. So it makes cleaning up the pot a lot easier. Coming back to this, so we're going to pull this sugar. So if you see, it is still fairly runny, but it will start to crystallize from the outside. So this is when what we're going to do is gently push the sugar towards the middle, very gently flicking in. Now don't try and force this bit. You need to have a little bit of patience. A lot of my students tend to rush this bit through. So just gently working from there. So now sometimes it gets onto your finger. It does burn. Do not flick it. It will get onto someone, and it's hot sugar. So just into the sink very gently, and then come back and continue. So this is what I mean by just very gently. Now, the other thing that happens more often is because the sugar is 160 degrees, and you're putting it on a metal bench, the bench will heat up. So what I want you to do is move the silpat from at a different spot, sort of to help you cool it down a little bit, and then continue again. So again, it will get stuck onto your glove, so just very gently flick it into the sink. So don't try and rush this bit. A lot of the students tend to rush. So what happens is the outside starts to cool down, and then you gently fold it to the middle. So see? So you don't want it to crystallize too quickly. So you can tell the middle bit's still molten, so it's runny. So if I were to put my finger through, it's going to get onto my glove, so please be very gentle. So these parts are starting to cool down, so I can touch it and it's not going to get onto my glove. So what I tend to do is sort of fold it in and then just gently press it down to cool it down. And then the moment you find that it's hard to, it's not happening, you move again, so that, because the bench does heat up quite a bit. So see, makes it easier now. So I'm going to work it all the way to the middle. You can't see it, but it is actually really, really, really hot. So see, I've just, so sort of sealed the molten bit, but it's still fairly hot. Not fairly is not even a word I should be using. It's really, really hot. So I'm going to very gently move it around till I get it into a nice ball. So don't force this bit. It has to come off the silpat when it's ready. So see, my silpat's nice and clean. There's no bits of sugar from me trying to force it. So there you go. I can lift it off now. It is hot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll it out, and then I'm going to twist it. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create the shine and stretch the sugar. Okay, it's hot. So twist, and then roll, and then again, twist. It will start to have a bit of resistance. That's when you know you need to stop. So my palms are really hot, so don't worry, you're going to be working in a group of 2, so you and your partners can actually take turns doing this. So see how it starts to get shiny? And it changes the color a little bit because you're incorporating air. Okay, I'm not going to pull it anymore because I want it to be nice and pliable. So now, once I'm done with this, you're going to come with me and we're going to put it under the heat lamp. So this is a heat lamp. It keeps my sugar pliable, right? Now I've done 2 others before, just so you could have just so you can see how it looks like. This has been sitting under the heat lamp for a bit. Now I just want to tell you how hot this heat lamp is. That's a silicone glove. If you were to touch it, it will burn. It will tear. It will rip it. All right. So you've just got to be really careful not to, especially the little ceramic heat light there. Now, with this, I'm going to show you how to pull a rose. It's the same way you would do a rose if you're using marzipan. Unfortunately, with sugar, it's a little bit more tricky because it's under the heat, right? You need scissors. Now, a lot of time when you're trying to get a little piece, people tend to pull, and you don't want to do that because when you pull, it will crystallize. So you want to keep it in a nice big mass like that. If I want a little bit, all I do is I cut it off with the scissors. So it's nice and neat. There's no sugar everywhere. Now, what I want to do is I want to show you something. If I take this sugar and I play it under the heat lamp, it is nice and soft and pliable. But if I take it out and leave it, watch what happens. Okay, it will work for a little while, and then watch what happens to it. It will crystallize really quickly. So see, that's crystallized already. So you only take it out of the heat lamp when you're comfortable with what you've done and you think it's good. Then take it out and leave it here to cool it down. So for my rose, I need my middle bit. I'll pop that back in there. Okay, I'm gonna, if you can see, trying to flatten it like so. So I get a nice disc. Then I'm going to very gently roll it like how you would do for the middle of a rose. That's the middle bit of the rose, if you can see. Now, I'm going to leave it there because I want that to cool. Now I'm going to do the petals. So it's the same way you do marzipan rose. You need your 2 petals initially. So how do I do that? Now this part is very interesting. I'm going to stretch the sugar like so till I get a petal. If you can see that. And then I'm just going to cut it off. So I get my petal. All right? Now I need 2 of those, so I'm going to do it again. So just very gently between your thumb and your finger. So if you're ready, under the lamp, I'm going to do my first petal. So in the middle. And then you're going to stick that. And you're going to curl it. So you get the, so it is really hot in here. So you're going to do the best you can. So that's the middle bit. And you can tell it's set already. So I can't bend it, it will break. I'm going to leave it there. Now we're going to do the 3 petals. Same thing. You get a feel of this. This is really, really hot. Because I'm in front of the camera, I'm making it look like it's not hot at all. But believe me, it's really, really, really hot. All right, so I've got 3 petals. So I go in, and again, remember how I showed you before, you always start between 2 petals, right? So that's the between 2 petals. I'm gonna put my, now if you leave this in for too long, it will start to stick to the mat, so just be careful. Now I'm gonna stick my first petal there. I'm going to do my second petal overlapping that. You have no idea how hot it is. And the third petal overlapping that. Now, because I want it to be pliable, I'm going to have to put it under the heat lamp so that my petals don't set just yet. So now that I'm happy, I'm going to come out and quickly mold the rose to how I want it to look. So I can still mold it because it's still semi-soft. All right, so that's the 3. Now I don't know if you can see this, but because I've pressed it a little bit hard, it's sort of slapped on me, but that's fine. You can't I'm going to take that bit off. Now, these shards are very sharp. You've got to be careful because sometimes we tend to sweep it with our hands. I've had people who've got nasty cuts, so just be very careful when you do that. Now, so we've got the middle bit, then we've got the 2 petals, and we've got the 3. We're going to finish this off with 5. So I need to do 5 petals. So the thinner your sugar, the higher the chances of you cracking them, yeah? But the thicker the sugar, it's going to be hard to play with. So you've got to find a nice happy medium between thick and thin. Now, any little bits, pop them straight back into the sugar so that they don't crystallize. So I've got 5 petals. Now, again, always between the petals is what you're going to start with. So I'm going to do the first petal, and then the second one, and then the third. So see how it's sliding because it is starting to cool down. And then your fourth. So that's a sugar rose. You can do more layers if you want. We can do up to 7 layers. Now, we can also, if I want to cut it, what I need to do is just warm that bit out and then slowly start to, when it's soft, I can just cut it off. But be careful because when you put it under the lamp, sometimes your rose does get a bit distorted. So I'm going to leave it for now. Now, you can also do leaves or a calyx to put under the rose, and I'll show you that. So, if you pull it too thin and you take it away, this is what happens. It will start to crystallize and it cracks. So have a look. So when that happens, don't put it back in there. Take it off the mat and just leave it on the bench and we'll clear it up later. So you don't want those little crystallized bits because they're not going to melt anymore. So just make sure you take them off the mat. So with that, I'm just going to gently soften it and stick it onto my rose like so. So that's like the bottom bit under the rose. So again, that's crystallized. I'm going to soften it a little bit more, leave it in there for a bit. So that's one bit. So can you see like that? Okay, I'm going to go on to do the next one. That's still soft. What's the next bit under? Again, crystallized, so I'm going to leave that alone, and I'm going to try with this one. So again, it's going to be a lot of patience that you're going to need when you're doing this. You can't, as you can tell, even on the first go, it is going to be a challenge, but it's all fun and good because we've got the time. So I'm going to stick the next one on. If it doesn't stick, it's all good. You just have to come back and do another one again. So that's all crystallized. So I'm going to do one at a time because I find that it's starting to set too quickly. So that one's really hard. I'm going to find the softer bit there. And while it's still warm, I'm going to stick it on. Again, it is a very fine line between hot and cold. So can you see? I've just taken it out from there and it's already set firm. So you've got to work very quickly and know exactly where you're going to put it so that once it sticks on, you don't have to put it back under the lamp and it will cool down and stick to the sugar that, to the rose. I'll turn it around to softer on this side. So again, find the edge that's the softest, most pliable. You're probably going to get a better chance at, again, I'm going to very quickly stick it and move it. And then just as I'm going to stick, I'm going to stick and take it out. So you kind of press and hold so that it sticks. And then once it sticks, don't try and pick it out because then it will dry out and it will come off. So I repeat, you don't need to know exactly where you're going to stick it. And once you do, stick it and don't pull it out again. Because once you pull it out, it will sort of cool down and it will come away and you won't be able to stick it back again. So like so, kind of know where I want it. So I've placed it there. I'm going to leave that. I'm going to come away and so that can essentially sit on a cupcake. You can do it as small as you want. I'm only doing it really big because I want to show you how to do it. I'll probably do a smaller one now so that I can place it on top of a cake as a topper. You can garnish it on wedding cakes, cupcakes. Because it's sugar, it's edible, so it's like hard candy. So see, can you hear the snap? So it is hard candy. 160 degrees on a sugar thermometer gives you hard crack. So which means it's like a chewy, not good for your teeth, but all right. All right, so when you come to class, for pool sugar, you're required to do 1 roast. That's going to sit on top of a cupcake or a cake, or you can do as many rows. And then we're going to do what you call ribbons. I'm going to show you how to make ribbons now, so got to be a bit patient with me. All right, for that, you need 2 colors. I'm going to take my scissors, going to get a chunk, and what I'm going to do is under the heat lamp, roll it to about that size and that wide, so if you can see. So I'm not going to put it under the lamp because what will happen is it will melt the sugar. I want to sort of let that bit hold its shape, so I'm going to put it on the side. Still need it warm. I don't want it to cool down. Now I'm going to take the yellow. I'm going to do the same. So you need about the same amount for each bit, right? If it's not enough, just add on. So that's going to come here next to the red. Do not mix it yet. If I put it together, it's going to get stuck. So again, I'm going to do 2 more of the red. Okay, so now this is what we're going to do. With the red, I'm going to roll it back to a little log shape, and then I'm going to stick the yellow next to the orange, to the red, I'm sorry. So you get like a disc, like so. And then you're going to continue that with the red. So ideally, you want them all the same. And then the orange, and then the red. So it should look like this, right? Doesn't stop there. What I'd like to do is I like to work with small bits, small pieces at a time, okay? So now, how do I pull a ribbon? I start from the middle, and I gently pull it out. If it gets too hot, take it out. So like I said, if you're, I'm going to put it back under the lamp. What I want to show you is if your sugar crystallizes, what's going to happen is it's not going to set firm, and it's going to come apart. So I'm going to gently pull, because it's still fairly hot. I can take it away from the heat lamp and pull to the so I'm going to leave it there. So that's how it looks. So I'm going to put these back because I can still use them. Cut off any excess. So see, they're still pliable. You can wrap them around a cake. You can wrap them around anything. But if I let it cool down now, watch what happens, right? So let's say if I curled it up. So what I also want to show you is if it is not stuck together, they come away like little rings. Okay, so you've got to be careful. All right, so now if you want to do a bow, okay, what I tend to do is wrap it around my finger, cut this bit off. So I've got a little loop. And then what I also do is cut a little triangle. So see what happens as it crystallizes? It will make a nice big mess everywhere. I'll leave it on my finger for a bit so that it cools down and sort of holds its shape. So if I come away from the heat lamp and I take it out very gently, I get that. Okay, so I'm going to do a few of that and show you what you can do with that. Okay, so again, I'm going to pull. So if I try and stretch it out too much, it will snap. So I'm going to show you that. So if you try and force it, it will snap. Okay, so don't force it. You need to take your time. Now this is fairly soft already. I'm going to take it and put it away. Same thing. I'm going to cut half of it. And then very gently from the middle, I'm going to pull out. Okay? See that? So if you do it slowly, you tend to have a nice, even, shape for the bow. Ribbon, not bow, sorry. Those two, I don't want, I'm going to leave it there. Now I'm going to wrap this again I'm going to put it under just to soften it so it's easier for me to cut and it doesn't crystallize when I cut it. The only problem is you've got to let it cool down a little bit more. The bow from all the little sugar loops that you've done. So what I tend to do is just put it under the heat lamp to soften it, that bit, and then what I tend to do is stick them together, like so. All right, so you've got to do them together. You've got to be very gentle because it is quite fragile and the chances of it breaking is really high. Alternatively, you can use a blowtorch. It's a bit more dangerous because if you're not careful, you're going to burn your hand because it's an open flame. So this way I find easier and I run, there's a less likely chance that people burn themselves. So I take it away, I'll hold it. So see how it's stuck together?